Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Teodora. So Teodora, welcome.
Hi, Kendrick, and hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And can you please tell us your full type, please?
So I'm an INTP, and in OPS, it's a T-I-N-E, so a standard INTP, but double feminine T-I-N-E, like consume, play, blast, and then sleep last. So a glass lizard.
All right. And what is your social type?
My social type is number two. I'm a number two.
All right, sweet. So what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing results back?
Uh, I was shocked. I was on the Ti-Fe axis. So this was the biggest finding from and the input from Dave and Shan because I really expected to be an ENFP. Decider, observer, it was okay for me to accept, but it was shocking to be Ti lead. So I was pretty shocked, but I was amazed as well because this was a really good insight to have to know, okay, so my human need is actually self. I'm a IP. So
So you thought you had FI this whole time?
yeah, I thought I had masculine FI. I thought I had masculine feelings. So this was shocking to me that I was feminine feelings and it was less. So because it's probably because of the NF. I saw NF in myself, but and generally like I saw that I was extroverted, but I didn't connect the dots like the extroversion. So I also was shocked that I was extroverted in OP. Also accepted this type, but I thought I would be blessed last. So this was all a bit of a shock, but it's only natural because I thought sleep, blessed, demons for sure. Both of the OI animals are demons. So
All right, well, let's start with that. So you saw that you were extroverted and you saw that you were NF. You have double activated NF play. So I think that's why you saw it, is because of that. And you're like doing it a lot. So um, can you share how you personally experienced that NF play? Because it turns out it's not consumed, right? Because you thought you were an ENFP at first. It's actually like a play. How do you personally experience it? And like what are you doing with that NF play?
it's a really good question, I have to say, because it was the thing is like I had the definitions a bit mixed up. So this is why I thought like, okay, if I'm experiencing a lot of drama in my life, like it's like drama, but like self-caused drama. I really a lot of the time I expect in my life to have like a lot of the things rolling around me, and I thought, okay, so this is my consume. I like to sit down and actually take in a lot of like I don't know how else to explain it except to say like it's any whirlpools of ideas, and this was why I thought, okay, so any FI, then any TE. So I thought it was ideas that was actually coming all around me, and that I was like my FI. But actually, what they really explained to me in the audio, and I could see in myself after that, was that actually the drama part was the extroverted part. It was the feminine feeling, me also leading with TI, creating that drama because I don't want to engage a lot of the times in feelings at first, and then I have to, so I do it kind of unnaturally. So this is why any FE for me, it's sometimes like I'm just so happy to engage with people and to be like out there, even though I'm an IP, to experience a lot of different experiences, even though they might be good, they might be bad, we might suffer, but we might get from this suffering a kind of experience that is very fulfilling, and I have to do it with other people. But I'm really looking forward to that ST sleep last at the end of the day, like just to narrow it all down and to like finalize everything with people. So this is how I experience this NF, like it's all around me all the time, and then I'm actually sitting down and analyzing the stuff I went through.
Yeah, I think the good thing about your type is you're not going to get as much tribe hate as like a typical INTP, because double activated play, double activated FE, save your friends, like you're actually going to be like really focused on the tribe a lot, which is really weird for an IP. So why don't we talk about that? Because like your save your friends, double activated FE, and double activated tribe essentially. Is your fear tribe hate still there, being an IP? Like, is it still present? And but in reality, do you see it actually happening because of your actual type, being like so tribe focused?
This is a really good question, and I would like to also know your experience with this as well, because I would be really interested in friends and D. I think these coins like bring a lot of these things, as you mentioned, like focusing on others, regardless of my human needs. So because I'm so focused on what I really want to achieve with my TI all the time, I do have a lot of FELS fears, I would say, in my life. And just recently, I was discussing with Magda, a type twin in the group, and just mentioned to her like how afraid I actually am of not having engagement from the tribe. Just sometimes doing my things and not realizing I'm not bringing people with me. I'm not engaging with them. I'm not going there to meet them. This is the thing, I would say, the responsibility helps with the most, because it kicks me. It really makes me go out and do stuff that are important for people around me. And also the thing that when like I think the way I was brought up was because I have a younger sister and an older sister. I'm the middle child. Like the stereotype of the middle child is a people pleaser. So I really go out of my way to do what my family wants. But then at the end of the day, at the end of the week, the decider issues come out. So it's usually that I was doing the FE things out of fear and not actually at all engaging what I want. So now I just want to do what I want. So it's like it feels a lot like being an EJ, I would say, a lot like that. And then when I actually start doing my stuff, it's very hard to balance these things out, because I see, like, if I look at myself, if I go to my sleep, I see what I really want to do. And a lot of the times, those are very TI focused things. Those are very, very not, very not FE things. And the thing is, the good thing is, as you said, like having this double activation on FE really makes me go out and take in what other people around me really need and being aligned with them. But because I'm doing that all day, sometimes I'm at the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, so now we discuss. Now we discuss what my sleep wants. And how is that with you? I would also want to know, because of the DE, and I don't know if D and Infodom, and also if I thought you were a two as well, if I'm correct. Does that make you a decidery or observery more in your life?
Yeah, I do have some follow-up questions for you, but I'll answer your question first. So yeah, I'm like the crackhead, play, blast, consume, sleep, ENFP, right? And number two, save your friends, save your responsibility as well. And it's really weird because like like what I wanted to ask you actually was the acts of service love language as part of the cross check of being a number two. So for me, for example, like I like to go out of my way and help people, because that's how I also want to receive love, also, is when people go out of their way to help me. So if my girlfriend needs help with something, then I would do the acts of service. Or if my friends or family members need help with something, I used to go out of my way to help them. But then as I got older, I realized that um, the acts of service is not the love language that other people also have. So when they try to show their love to me, they do it in their love language, and I feel like jaded. I feel like I'm not getting it doesn't feel fair. Like I feel like they're not giving anything back, but they actually are. So it's actually my fault why I feel that way, because you know, they it's not their love language. They don't care about acts of service. They care about, let's say, if they're number 4 or number 3, they care about gifts, right? A little bit easier with the number 4s because they have quality time, right? And I'm a number 2. The number 2's second love language is quality time. So in that case, we can kind of meet there. But the more I'm kind of learning the love languages, and also with the objective personality social type, your first love language is definitely the most important one, and you want people to meet you there, and it gets and that's where like the feeling of being jaded kind of comes in. And then I have double masculine sleep. So because I have double masculine sleep, as you said for yourself, at the end of the week you want to do the SITI, narrow down for yourself, and you become selfish. So that kind of happens to me as well. I think the biggest difference for us though is I'm a double decider. So if I'm getting jaded, I can see the tribe's perspective on why it happened, and I kind of be like, that's my fault. I should have communicated that this is my needs, and I should give the tribe what they want. They don't want acts of service. They want like whatever it is that they want. So if they're like a 1, they want the compliments, right? Or if they're a 3, they want the gifts. Or if they're 4, they want the quality time. So you know, it's about like matching also what a tribe wants. Is also communicating your needs. So it's like a lot of communication at the end of the day of like, you know, what I want and what they want, and it's like, you know, pretty much like giving each other what each other wants instead of like thinking what they need and giving them what they need. So yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on that. As I get older, the more my DI is kicking in, it's like turning on more. So I'm just more conscious also with setting boundaries. Because I feel like setting boundaries is hard for play last or play double activate play and sleep last, because you're like tribe, right? And you want to like play. So now it's like, okay, let's say a tribe member wants me to go to a party that they hosted, but their party sucks. Like I know they have historically their party sucks. So what I'll do is I'll go to their party, but I'll actually schedule in like going to work after that party. So that way I go to the party, but I don't stay like too long, right? And then I have a reasonable exit, because I'll be like, oh hey, you know, I'm showing up for you, but I also have to go to work. Sorry guys, and it's real. I actually have to go to work, but I actually purposely scheduled that work afterwards, so I don't have to stay in the party because it sucks, right? So so that's kind of like how I do it. Or yeah, so but also at the same time, I think being savior friends is super awesome, because like for example, like I went to a party yesterday, and like I met some new people and stuff who are also into like, because you know, being number 2, you're into entrepreneurship, right? So like I met other people who are into entrepreneurship. I'll ask you about that later. I'm actually curious from your perspective. But like it was just really inspiring to talk to other people who are going out of their way to become independent, because entrepreneurship is really independence, and that's what number 2s want, is independence. Like the thing that I always preach is like I want to stand on my own 2 feet without anyone's help. And seeing people who are already standing on their own 2 feet without anyone's help, for me, is very inspiring. So I just feel so nice when you're around with like savior friends. Like I don't want to be any other social type. I think like being number 1 sucks. Like because like, yeah, you're the best and stuff, but you're sacrificing friends, and friends is, it's like brings so much joy in life. Like I think it's not worth it. That's just my opinion, of course. So I think being number 1 sucks, and I think being number 3 sucks too. It's boring. Like you're gonna do the same thing over and over again. That sounds terrible. So I think that the best social type is number 2. And I'm being biased because obviously I'm a number 2. And I think number 4 is also, my problem with number 4 is I feel like you're helpless. That's my problem with number 4 is like, yeah, you have lots of friends, which is great, but then because you have to specialize, then you're kind of trapped. Like you're at the mercy of like the number 1s, so, or the number 2s. Hopefully you have a number 2 boss, but if you're a number 1, you're done. Like you're dead. They're gonna push you too hard, and then you're not gonna be able to keep up, right? So that's why like they said the 1s and 4s are like the best friends and arch enemies, because the number 1s will give you the job, but they'll also like try to get you to flex but then you don't have it. So anyways, that's just my opinion. So I wanted to bring it back to you then. So I want to talk to you about your love language being acts of service. Do you feel like that's valid? Being a number two, that's actually how you feel love is, like when someone does something for you?
That's a really good question because yes, I would say I am aware of other people's love languages more from time to time. So even without knowing that ones exist, I have a friend. She's really like flex and IJ at that sleep IJ, and you can see with her that the just the words of affirmation work perfectly. And when she tries that with me, it's so it's even though I'm an IP, it doesn't work. So and acts of services you mentioned, like also being you being a double decider, you can see after a while that you just have to communicate better, that you would like to receive love more in that way. And I really, since learning that, I really recognize in myself, okay, so for example, if my partner and me are hanging at my house, and after a while, we go each to our own things, go to work, blah, blah, blah. I have to really say to him, okay, so I need your help doing some stuff around my apartment, or and he would gladly help. But this is really like, I feel really loved because when everything is done, I can say, okay, we really did this together, and I feel kind of seen, recognized, because this is important for me that we actually do this stuff. And also, it's important, I would say, to as well as accepting my love language. I would say it's also important to just whichever person I'm talking to, I'm trying not to be too influential about what is actually my love language, and to just let them to see first what is there and how do they like to express love. And this is I would say the most difficult point about love languages. If, for example, I mean, I think my partner is a two, so it's easy. We have the same. But as you mentioned, like it's it's really great being friends savior, because you have this like quality time want. You really want to spend time with people, but at the same time, if people have different love languages, I really have to be careful of that about that. And sometimes it's really nice, because I really, at the end of the day, I still like that FE. I still like to see, okay, if I have a tree in my circle and I actually take time, prepare a gift and give them, they will be really happy. So that FE, like, it warms my heart, you know. So I'm happy to do it, but just specifically from time to time. And generally, like, before actually learning what could be my type, I really thought like quality time would be kind of the highest. But when I actually put something in practice, like right now, and see, okay, if I'm communicating to other people what is actually my love language and they are doing it, I actually do feel great. So, but I'm an IP, so it's really hard sometimes to be like somebody else is helping me, you know, extra service. Like they're doing, for example, my mom, she's an ESTJ, and if she's like doing something for me, I feel like, oh my God, or no, because I'm not capable to do it myself. Sometimes I feel like that with the extra service.
Is that because of the TI? Because the TI wants to do the work yourself, and then like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I wanted to ask you, what kind of acts of service do TI-FE people like yourself? Like, I want to hear from your perspective, because like that's always been confusing to me, because I always see acts of service as a TE thing. Um, like I'm doing the work for you.
Big
So
time.
what's like the FE version of acts of service? It's like what are you doing? Like, are you making someone like dinner or something? Is that like the acts of service? Like, what is it? Like, what's the FE version? I'm pretty sure there's something, but like,
Yeah.
what do you see yourself doing, for example, or what do you see other people doing to you that's like FE, but it's like an acts of service?
So I would say the biggest thing there, the difference between T and FE would be like an act of service can also be if somebody, for example, asks me to hang out. and instead of just hanging out, they organize something for us to do together. So for example, if I like going to, so at the end of the day I still have my FI likes, but like if I like to go to escape rooms, and in my friend circle says, okay, so it's Teodora's birthday, let's do that. I'm very happy because this is an experience. We're doing it together. We're sharing our fee, and it's kind of an act of service because they prepared this. So I didn't actually have to do it. I didn't have to ask everyone, are they available? What is the weather out there? Blah blah blah. So we are at the end of the day having this experience. But it's also the I would say, because I would say the biggest point of growth for me learning IMTI was that I have to accept like I'm just not the smartest one. So, and just realizing like many times I spoke to T people around me, just like they are much faster with that T. They have a solution quickly. They can do it, and we can all be happy. And I'm completely fine with that because at the end of the day, FE is like being. We are all happy. We are all satisfied. So if the T works and we are happy with that, that's perfect. So just not sometimes it's just not like doing my specific job for me.
Right.
Just let me do my TI somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a time and place for both TI and TE. I mean, like, you know, the INTPs are the smartest types. Because like if you look at like all the people who are successful, most of them are INTPs. So it is like there is like some truth that the INTPs are smarter than most types, like IQ wise, not emotional intelligence, but like just pure IQ. Because obviously with the FE at the bottom, sorry, not trying to make fun of you, but like I kind of am, but like so like you know I mean, and one of the things that I like to think about is like I wonder how ISTPs feel knowing that the INTPs are smarter than them. Like it's like, and I'm starting shit now, but like like that's like something I always think about, right? Because there's both lead TIs, and obviously TI is the smartest, but one is like um NE NETI, and I feel like NE is quicker than NI. I think NI is slow. So because you have NE, you have the speed also on top of the TI intelligence. So it's like, so I wonder how those guys feel, like knowing that their cousins are smarter. But anyways, like I said, I'm just stirring shit, which is always fun, obviously. But like, so with that being said, I want to ask you about being lead NT, and it's double masculine. So you're double masculine NT, right? So that means you would
Yeah.
be like, if you wanted to, you would be the most aggressive at gathering information for the purpose of problem solving. And because it's in a consume position, so consume is also external self-awareness and also self-image, the tribe will actually see you as intelligent. Like that's actually how you project your image. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Making you come across as the smartest, but also you can prove it because of the high consume. Can you talk about your consume and how you consume information for the sole purpose of finding a solution to a problem? And it's only for yourself because it's TI. It's not for the tribe, sadly.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, I really do prefer other NTs sometimes, but it's interesting to have anti-consume, as you said. Like it's a kind of also thinking about consume as just a way we actually are portrayed in the tribe, and it is like I have always been portrayed as like uh, the person who can solve this problem for us. If we have like for example in school, if we had an exam, I can do the task or just complete a math problem, and people around me, they can take a picture and do that same thing and just write it on the paper and get the same grade. But it's also like, as you said, for self. So sometimes it can be, I would say, a bit selfish. And this is the part where I wouldn't say like I prefer NT consume the most, because what we are doing sometimes is, for example, I find a solution. And I had this problem earlier when I was like really younger, when I was teenager. I would find a solution for some specific task I had. I was really into science, so it was mostly about astrophysics and things like that. that I was mostly interested in, and I would sit with my friends. They would have some ideas. After that, I would go find more solutions, try to do it myself. And when I found the solution, I share it with the person I think is also smart I'm working with. And after that, sometimes before, I had a problem with just saying, I would like to share this solution with everyone. This is why like TI can really be like just plain selfish. I don't know how to else to call it. But it's also very useful because after breaking that like stream of thought that it has to be my solution, I have to be the one to apply it. It has been really good sometimes just working with people who are more T because I had this during whole high school. I was going to this like summer school for astrophysics, and I had this friend who was an ENFP, and we would work together. So he would like just like I would say transform it from like what I found works for me in my head into something that other people can use as well. So this is something I prefer. I prefer for logic to actually be useful outside. And this is also the same with OP. Like I had, because after this love with astrophysics, I went on to study sociology and I went in social sciences, changed completely the course of my science thing, but it's still science, it's still NT. And I have so many questions I would love to raise with David Shand and so many psychology, sociology issues I find. But I'm so glad somebody is like transforming it into something like very useful and beautiful. I really like to see that it can be applied in a better way. But my consume, I cannot do it easily with my consume. With NT, of course. With SF, I can transform it into something, okay, you would like this maybe, and find a book for example, my mom, for she would like, which has many NT solutions or something like that, but I cannot really like explain it. Like sometimes it's, I would say like they also really often use Jung as the example, Jung as an INTP, I mean, and it's really at the end of the day, like you confuse people if you try to push them in your consume sometimes. It's really nice, but it's also at the end of the day like sometimes a bit consuming because it's a lot of random information about what I find any like makes sense. I don't know how else I also say it.
Yeah, are interesting, I guess, because NE people like to use the word interesting, right? So uh
Yeah.
well, I have a lot of INTP friends, so I do find it's easy to talk to INTPs because I'm NT, and then the two NTs I think make it easy to talk to each other. I find it easier to talk to the consume lead INTPs than the sleep ones. Um, because I do have ST as a savior also, so I can talk in that ST terms, but it's not natural. I always feel like your first animal and someone else's first animal. It's like the same language, even though it's in a different position. And actually having it in a different position is actually even better. So when you talk to someone that has it in a different position, so for example, if I talk to an INTP's anti-consume versus like an INTJ's anti-blast, right? Or even the anti-sleep of INFJs and those guys that has it in that quadra. So I do appreciate like the different perspective of the different NTs. Um, but I do find like when I talk to my friend who's an INTP, he also met Dave and Shan when we were here and when we went down to the US. And what I find is that he does share his consume, but he won't volunteer information until I start talking about a topic that he's already researched. So if he's already researched that topic, then he'll bring his own anti-consume story and he'll take me along the journey of like how he came across this solution based on his findings. So I think it's I think you guys do bring it up. I think it's like the anti-sleep people that is like more like nope, it's not, it's protected, right? So that's where it,
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe that's why it's, I think because like ultimately we want to be seen for a sleep animal, right? So um I think that's the problem with people that has like potentially like those people with anti-sleep where it's like the anti-sleep is like hidden behind like a inside. So no one can see you for your intelligence because you're hiding it. Um, when in fact you should be showing your sleep animal. So I'll be asking you about your ST sleep later because that's like the one that you're hiding essentially. And it's especially because you have it last, so it's even harder to be seen. Um, if you had it like, because there's people who are like double activated ST, for example, ST sleep. Now, obviously, it's gonna come out because it's double activated, right? But yours is
Yeah.
last. Yours is last, so it's not gonna come out very often. Um, but before we go there, I want to ask you about your double feminine SF blast. So what are you doing with that? And it's double feminine, right? So it's like super friendly. It's like the friendliest SF blast possible. And as you know, with SF blast, it's responsible for guiding people's behavior or correcting people's behavior if it was more masculine. So there's a difference, right? Guiding is like a nudge, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't say that, right? Like, for example, if I was talking when I was telling you earlier that I think INTPs are smarter than ISTPs, you might be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be saying that. That's kind of rude, And then, but then inside you're like, that's right, we are smarter. Anyways, just again starting shit, but like, I'm triggering your designer. I'm triggering your designer just now, but I'm just starting shit, guys. So if you're watching this, I'm just starting shit. But anyways, so how do you feel about that double feminine SF blast of yours?
Again, this is a good question, and I thought I would come with sleep prepared about all of these topics, but SF Blast, I would say, for me is really when I go to work or any like kind of social occasion where I feel I can guide people. So I'm not in a position where I just have to, play or be happy all the time or just like engage with people in a different manner. It's if it's a free, like I would say like if I'm like at work and I come to see an email that is like just preposterous, like I would say I would never go to the person and say, oh my God, you cannot write an email like that if they are not like at the beginning of their career. But I would say, okay, so I would like try to show them with my example how it's really done. Like I really try to okay answer in the friendliest manner possible. Like that's first for me. I really have to be friendly, but I also have to like as you said, like tools, we are really entrepreneurial. We want things like not just like TI for me, like things to work, but we also want to be free and we want to like have this high responsibility. So because of the freedom, and I really think in that manner, I have an obligation from time to time to just come to the person. I wouldn't say like needs a kind of, I would say, as you said, like nudge sometimes, and just try to show them with my example how you can actually be nice and still do what you want to do. But of course, it's not possible always. So it's really interesting because I'm right now working at a position where I have a lot of Ti-Fe people around me, and a lot of them are masculine Fe. And a lot of the times I get the feedback from my colleagues because we are working remotely. I get the feedback like, you are really nice and hardworking. It's nice to work with you. But at the same time, I have an EJ friend. She's a masculine Fe less. She's also very hardworking, but she can come off so pushy that people are like, I don't need to be. She's also a one, so so people are like, I don't really need like to engage with that. I don't want to correct my behavior in such a way. So if I'm coming to them, for example, we have some really disagreeable colleagues sometimes, and if my colleague, and also she's, I would say, a friend now already, if she comes to this person with her ways, and she's also savior, SIFE, she comes and says, okay, you have to correct your behavior this way. The person just like, the person is just like, I don't really want to do that. And if I come and I'm like, okay, I will engage with your behavior, which is rude right now, but I really want you to see that it can be better because I believe at the end of the day, you want to stay at this company, you want to work with other people. If they are not so disagreeable that they maybe, as you said, like sometimes it's just anti-sleep that can be so disagreeable. I would say they hide their intelligence to themselves, so they don't want to share solutions sometimes, and you really have to come completely like nicely to guide them into the situation where they can show it. So this is like really the, I would say, the easiest way for me to give an example of how I use SF Blast, but it's also like just because it's S, I would say like, for example, if I'm preparing some food, I would just prepare it my way, and then like I just offer it to people, and I'm not pushy. I don't want them to like really try it. I'm not saying it's the best way possible you can make it. I'm just like preparing it for people, and I just want to see what are their reactions. So it's just and then I learn and I try to see, okay, how can I make better? How can I make this dish better when I'm with this person next time? So um, I would say this is completely opposite to the SF sleep masculine less. I feel like you guys really are sturdier than us really with the SF.
The SF sleep?
Yeah, it's really, I would say, like strict in that regard. You have your own preferences. You are, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but
Oh,
it
yeah, yeah,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just very narrowed in because it's SI. So I know exactly like what makes me feel happy. Like it's yeah, I can define it very easily. Because like I think with the NF sleeps, it's like kind of confusing. It's like NF, right? It's like I don't know, right? It's like it's so confusing. But I do like I've seen people use SF blast in a good way and a bad way. So I've seen like the examples of both. Um when the SF blast is being used in a good way, it feels really good for someone that is on the receiving end of it. But when it's being used in a bad way, it's like the worst feeling, especially for me with SF sleep. So you're trying to tell me what I should value and how I should feel and what how my behavior should be. And then I'm like, fuck you, like no, no thanks. But like so like obviously the bad ones I've already mentioned. But the good ones, like for example, I have a friend who's an INTP. He's blast last, but he has masculine FE. So like I remember one time I went to his to his house and he's weird because like TI is weird sometimes. So he doesn't turn on the heater and it's freezing and we live in Canada and US, right? And like he
Oh my
just wears like a
God.
big jacket inside the house, which doesn't work for anybody, but it works for him, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. That's why David Chan sometimes says like TI doesn't make any sense, right? It's like
It
why are
does.
you have a heater and you're not poor? Why is the heater off? You make like so much money. He works for Amazon, and like I'm like, are you trying to save money? Is that why you don't turn on the heater? I don't think he is. I think he just likes the cold because he's weird. But he saw me shivering, right? Because I was freezing inside his house. So
Oh my God.
I mean, obviously the best solution is to just turn on the heater. But he doesn't do that. He makes me tea. He's like, here, have this tea, drink this, because you look uncomfortable. And
Okay.
so it's like FE, right? He's trying to make me like a hot tea, which is a nice gesture.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking, I'm like, I really appreciate that hot tea, but I'm like, maybe we should start on the heater. Because like, that fixes like the problem, right? Like that's like the tea
Mm-hmm.
solution, right? But so it's still good. It still feels good to like have someone like offer you tea when I'm like freezing, obviously. But and then also the other thing that you said about your is it your friend or coworker who is like a number one EJ, maybe with FE? I think David Shan said most Karens, like that stereotype. I don't know if is that a thing in Serbia? People call people a Karen or no?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe the generations that does it, but really, generally, no. I wouldn't say it's a thing. But I mean, it does exist, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you guys don't use the word Karen there, right? But you know what it is.
No.
Right? You know what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they said like the Karen archetype are usually like masculine DE EJs, right? Because they feel like they're the victim, but then they're the one that's acting crazy. Um, you know,
Mhm.
it's because they feel like their feminine DI is being threatened. And I think it's especially true for those with FE at the top because they're the ones that's correcting people's behavior. Like you're out of control. Like they might say something like that, right? When they're the ones that's being out of control. So it's like it's kind of interesting to see that like projection of um with the FE sometimes. I do want to touch base now on your last animal, which is ST sleep. This is like the big one here. Which is weird because IPs is usually correlated with their sleep animal. But because I see each animal as correlated to a certain archetype. So like IPs is sleep, EPs is consume, play is EJ, and blast is IJ, right? Because like blast is obviously like something that's already been organized. Play is like connecting with a tribe. That's why it's EJ-ish. That's why you're very EJ-ish as an INTP. So how do you personally experience that ST sleep of yours? And there's different aspects of it. So let's start with the first one, which is the one that you already mentioned at the start of our interview, which is at the end of the week, you're sick of the tribe and now it's all about you, which is really weird because you're an IP. So isn't it always about you? But like, why did you say like it's at the end of the week? So it's a little bit interesting that that's how you structure that. So that tells me that you are going between the EJ and IP swing back and forth all the time. That's what it's telling me. But I want to hear from your perspective what's happening there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good point. I also thought about this, especially discussing with other double activated play IPs. And I would say the thing is with me, the responsibility and friends are sometimes, and especially like in the last year, have been a little bit heightened because I have my close family, like my sisters and my parents, who all live like in separate locations now, and also like I mean, I would say like for that period of time, I have been in a new relationship, and also I have been going some ongoing drama with friends, and it's about me to a certain extent. For example, I can go to work and do my work and do my 20 minutes yoga or something like that. I try to insert that sleep of mine to like save myself from a lot of burden that play brings on through the day. But also the thing is like why I feel it's at the end of the day or at the end of the week is because I kind of feel done with this TI entrenchment, or I don't know how to say it, like just like obsession with myself and obsession with how really the things I do matter and how people like are going to look up to me and how the things I say matter. So I just want like to be engaged with the tribe as maximum as possible. So just like, for example, because all the people in my family are thinkers, lead thinkers, except my younger sister. She's an ESFP. All of the other ones are thinkers, and I know especially they are masculine thinkers. So I really want to try to be there with my FE. So I'm always thinking about, okay, how can I actually help them be a little bit happier? How can I actually help them throughout this phase of life where we are separating and we are all living our own lives? And I'm focused so much on that because I really don't want to experience that IP thing of coming to like 40 or 50 and realizing, oh my God, I have been just living for myself this whole time and everybody around me is sad, I feel like this is the stereotype of an IP. And like I purposefully go to people and ask, okay, so how am I making you sad? It's a little bit bad still because I'm trying. Sometimes I'm a bit pushy and I want people to make me understand. So to explain to my TI how is something.
Is that the
Yeah.
double masculine anti-consume then? Like you really
Yeah.
you really want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's really bad. Yeah, it's really bad because especially like with my background in sociology and psychology, sometimes like I feel like I have the monopoly on understanding some human behaviors or something like that. Like if somebody is telling me you're projecting on me, and I do not agree with the specific phrasing they use, like I do not agree, I'm projecting. I will really go out of my way to try to rephrase that to how it's really actually in psychology or like right now in science. And the whole point there is actually to come to conclusion. Okay, so what am I actually doing so I can know how to actually change it? And this is the whole thing. So, but I'm coming to people, trying not to be an IP. To understand like, okay, so how can I change my behavior? And it's a difficult process for both me and people around me sometimes, because sometimes I can be pushy in that regard. I'm just um, not satisfied with just a random like, I don't feel sometimes well when you do this, and I'm convinced this is the best thing to do in that moment. I can give an example. I don't know if that would be useful.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, for example, if we're doing something in my apartment, and this is like thing like how we organize like my day, our day, like my partner and me, and I would be like at a certain point, I would be very my feelings would will not be bored, and I would come to this person. Okay, so is this making you happy? What I'm trying to do? I'm trying to do this all masculine thinking. I'm trying to solve a lot of things for us, for both of us, so we can feel at the end of the day good in this. Is this working for you? And because I put so much work already in, I am like, okay, is this working for you? And if he's coming to me and saying no, just because he's a masculine FI, he's just saying no. I'm like, oh no, so I have no way of correcting it now because it's already done. This is how I used to think, really. And I come and sit, okay, so I really need to find out now with my consume what is particularly the problem now. So I don't want to do it, because especially it's hard because NF sleep is, as you said previously, like it's really like not fixed. So it's not a specific thing. It's just like a vague sense of NF. I don't know how to put it. How different to put it. Yeah.
I think with NF sleep, sometimes it's a specific character attribute that you're going after. Like David Goggins, for example, it's toughness, right? So or Jocko Willing is like discipline, right? Discipline equals freedom. That's like the NF sleep, right? So there's like a sentence usually that's involved, and then you adhere to that sentence because that's what build that's where you build your character from, because sleep is also building in your identity, in your character. So I think NF sleep is really good actually. But if you don't have it, it's hard to use it. I mean, you can't use it. So it's obviously only useful for those guys. I do want to ask you a
Yeah.
question. I also noticed when you answered my ST sleep question, it's very decider like, because I'm pretty sure if I asked like an ENTP, they would go towards a completely different um area. Like for example, like Brian Johnson, right, who recently got typed as an INTP. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is like the most extreme ST sleep I've ever seen. But it was so good to see it. What like the like the most refined version of ST sleep would looks like. And I love seeing that, like just seeing that like example of it. It's a little bit extreme for my taste, but I think it's really good. You could like I think most people can derive something from it, obviously. Right. You don't have to follow all the craziness that he does. Like,
Mhm.
but do you relate to that you personally, having that SITI health routine that he like obviously he has his own version of that and it's super extreme because he measures every single thing. Um do you feel like you have something like that? I mean, your sleep lasts, so obviously it's gonna be harder, but like, do you feel like you have like an exercise routine, you have a nutrition routine, sleep routine, and mental health routine? Like, do you have any of that you follow personally, or no, not so much?
So I would say I have it devised, but I don't use it as often as I would like. So this is like my obsession. I would never go to the length the Brian is taking in his life. I really prefer play. Like even though I like doing that sleep at the end of the week or at the end of the day or whatever, I really prefer the play. I prefer this feeling of play. But also the thing is like ST sleep for me, as you mentioned, like I go to a decided way of answering this because this is like this has been my main also focus. Okay, so how to actually understand double deciding and have it in my routine. To actually it's really I would say best described with the example of Byron Katie, like what she's actually doing with her work, and it's really working. I would say for especially for TI, I would say like just answering some specific decider question in your head over and over again from different perspectives, from different SI experiences, and doing that sleep is really a routine I would like to have in my future established more. And I would say like just learning I am sleepless. One of the obsessions like I have in these this time I really got this feedback I am sleepless was okay, so how can I establish my life more in the future so I can actually do the sleep and be happy with because I have routines I already like. For example, I like running or doing yoga. Those are my favorite types of exercise. I can do them anywhere. I can do it every day for a little period of time sometimes, but it really makes me uh, a better human, I would say. And especially when I can sleep, really sleep eight
Yeah.
hours. This is like not existent in my life. I would say this is the biggest problem, like just getting a real good night's sleep. But I have routines I like when it comes to what I eat in a day, what uh, how I take care of my mental health. I don't know if this is, for example, different with your version of sleep and my version of sleep because TI is really sometimes robotic, as they say. So
100%.
and yeah, and it's stuck in our ways sometimes. I don't know if this is the case also with FISI sleep, but for TI, it's really like if I think this is the best way to do something and somebody is offering me a better way to do it, if I'm used to it, I'm really reluctant to changing it.
I think one of the biggest difference that I've seen, and I think that's a good thing about like people in my quadra and your quadra, is that I can actually see your perspective because we share the SI. I think the biggest thing I see is I'll use the fitness. I'll use working out as an example because I think that's the easiest way to use um as an example is if my body doesn't feel right, I know it doesn't feel right. But people with the SITI, if the body's working properly, you think it's fine. I think you think that's good enough, but it's not. Because like what I know in fitness is like, okay, let's say you're doing a squat, right? Like a squat exercise. And yes, the movement looks right. It looks perfect. The form looks perfect. Everything looks good. Like you're following all the proper form, the technique. So if you were SITI, you might think, hey, everything looks good. Everything looks perfect. We've achieved perfection, right? But then if I have SIFI, which I do, um, I might say, hey, one of my leg kind of feels numb. It doesn't feel right. Or like, or my back hurts. My form is perfect, but my back hurts. So that's where the big difference is. And then I would actually go, because I have TE, right? I'm not like trying to solve my own problem. So I'm gonna go to find a professional to help me solve this problem. I'll go to the professional. I'm like, hey, my squats look perfect, but how come my back hurts? Or like one of my leg feels numb. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, your squat does look perfect. And if it was just TI, it works. So what's the problem, right? No, there's a huge problem. It doesn't feel right because the feeling is being ignored, right? Otherwise, with a TI. So, and I'll describe the good thing about SIFI is you can describe precisely what you're feeling. So I'll be able to describe it to let's say a physiotherapist or a massage therapist, right? And then they'll be like, oh, okay, based on the description of your symptoms, we can try X, Y, and Z, as like a potential solution. So then the problem solving process then can begin, right? And eventually a solution will come eventually after some time. And I'm like, okay, now I can do squats and my back doesn't hurt and my leg doesn't feel numb, right? So That's the true solution, because now it feels right. It's not just like it works. So I think that's like the biggest difference with the TISI. Like I think how Brian Johnson is getting it wrong is like, oh, I wake up at this time and I sleep at this time, and like I'm taking 180 pills a day. But like, dude, you're alienating the tribe. And when you alienate the tribe with that weird stuff that you're doing, even if it works, you're actually not going to make yourself live as long as you think, because part of longevity is having strong emotional health, and strong emotional health comes from your relationships with the tribe. So if you're being so fucking weird and you're not like, connecting with people, then I don't know if you're actually going to live as long as you think you will. Because I think part of the measurements that he's doing is not measuring the emotional health. It's just like measuring the physical health, which is amazing, by the way. It's amazing, but it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you sacrifice like a little bit of that physical health optimization in favor of emotional health, I think it's even better. But that's just my theory. Obviously, it's NE, right? So for all he knows, he's like he'll live to 200, and he'll be like, yeah, you idiots, you T idiots or something. Like I was right this whole time.
Yeah,
Anyways, I don't know.
it makes sense though, because I would say like people who actually live long around me. When I was young, for example, like my grandma, she lived very long, and she was one of those people, I am sure she had TI because she would like know that something is healthy for you, and she would do it every day. Like it's crazy, and it's, for example, if it's something like it's a food you don't like, most of the people, even like TIs I know around me, like who are young now, are doing it reluctantly, and we don't want to like do something that's making us feel like gross, and as you mentioned, sometimes just doing exercise and having a pain is also, or specific painful feeling is important to recognize. But without the FI, sometimes it can be easier to just go along with it for a longer period of time. But the problem is like sometimes you can. I felt this, for example, specifically with exercise that you were describing. Like for me, it's more like it's really difficult to recognize. Okay, I have a painful feeling right now, and I want to go to the professional to help me solve it. And I go to the professional, and sometimes it's really hard to come to a professional who is actually willing to believe my feminine feeling less, because it seems like I'm faking it. It seems like I'm making or I am maybe thinking like this is the way, but they're coming to me like, you're not certain this is painful to you. Why are you telling me this is like what is the problem? But I know this is the problem because I watched myself enough in the previous, I would say, like sometimes it's like 3 months even, that I'm like feeling nausea when I'm doing something, and they're like not believing me because I'm not like FI certain this is the case.
Oh, you're not able to. You have feminine SI also, which makes it even hard, because it's hard to
Yeah.
describe like the actual location and stuff. And yeah, the feminine SI is hard. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know how you. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna
Yeah.
fix your problem with that feminine SI, because like I don't know what you're gonna say to the. Yeah, you just sound crazy with that. The feminine sensory in general makes it harder to describe the location of the pain. So, yeah, I feel for you guys. I don't know, like you need like a friend, I think, that has masculine SI to like I think this is actually what's happening. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody and somebody we trust also, because that TI, like I cannot accept any opinion. I really have to believe that the opinion is based in reality sometimes. Because, for example, I have a friend like with NITI sleep. She's NITI savior. And the thing is, like, the biggest problem for her is she's not realizing it at all sometimes. And at least, like, I have that feminine side. I feel like it's a bit of a help and advantage when it comes to workouts and exercise, but also like I'm not sure like if I'm actually seeing something, it it has to be a large data set. It has to be like for long period of time in the past. Like, for example, just a simple pain can last like 3 months, and I'm like, okay, I have to go to the doctor now. So
Gotcha. That's kind of
yeah,
scary that the data set has to be so big before you can see a doctor. But anyways, it is what it is.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Teodora, uh, I'm sorry to say, but we gotta end the interview right here. Just because I
for
have another
sure.
one scheduled after you. I'm sleep lost, so I'm like, scheduling this stuff after another. But I really appreciate you coming out and sharing more about your life, your experience, and about your type specifically. Um, I know we're just kind of getting started discussing this stuff. So in the future, if we can do a second interview, that'll be, and focus more on the back and forth as opposed to like me like asking you questions. So we can definitely do that. So again, thanks again for coming out and sharing more about yourself.
Thank you so much, Kendrick. It was lovely. Thank
All
you.
right, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.